The entire stadium held its breath. 10 seconds remained on the clock. The championship game, the biggest stage of his life, came down to one final play. His team was trailing by 4 points, and the next few moments would decide everything. The rookie, who had spent most of the season unnoticed, now stood at the center of it all. He was not the star quarterback, not the seasoned veteran, just a backup, someone no one expected to touch the ball in a moment like this. The coach's voice echoed in his ear. "This is your moment. Make it count." The ball was snapped. The world seemed to slow down. Every movement, every breath became crystal clear. This was his one shot. One chance to prove that every hour spent in silence, every drop of sweat, every setback, it all mattered. The defenders closed in. The pressure was suffocating. But in the chaos, he saw his opening. And then he made the move that would change NFL history forever. The play was about to become something no one, not the fans, not the critics, not even his own teammates, would ever forget. Long before the bright lights of the championship game, his story began in silence. He was never supposed to be on an NFL field. Passed over during the draft, overlooked by scouts and dismissed by coaches, he was the player no one paid attention to. The one who sat quietly on the bench while the stars of the team soaked up the spotlight. But he had something no stat sheet could measure: relentless determination. He grew up in a small town where opportunities were scarce, but dreams were limitless. Every morning, while others slept, he was on the field, running drills, practicing throws, and pushing his body to the edge. Football wasn't just a game for him. It was his escape, his purpose, his only chance at something bigger than himself. Even after going undrafted, he refused to give up. His shot finally came when a team offered him a spot as a backup, a role most players would view as a disappointment. But for him, it was an open door. Practice after practice, he worked harder than anyone else. He stayed late, asked for extra reps, and watched game footage deep into the night. The coaches noticed his effort, but game time remained out of reach. Then, injuries started to pile up for the starters. One by one, the roster thinned, and suddenly, his number was called. It was not glamorous. His first few snaps were routine, simple plays, nothing flashy, but every completed pass, every perfect block built something more important than stats: trust. His teammates began to see him not as a backup, but as someone who could handle pressure when it mattered. And that trust led him to this moment, the biggest game of the season. Now, with just seconds left on the clock, that quiet rookie who had once been overlooked stood in the middle of the huddle, eyes locked on the quarterback. "You ready for this?" the quarterback asked. He nodded, steady and determined. "I was born for this." The next play would not just define the game, it would define his entire career. Behind every underdog's rise is a mountain of sacrifices that the world never sees. For him, this journey had been nothing short of brutal. Doubts followed him like a shadow from the very beginning, not just from others but from within. There were days when the physical pain felt unbearable. Countless injuries left him questioning if his body could take another hit. Sprained ankles, bruised ribs, and the relentless soreness that never seemed to fade. These were the silent struggles no fan would ever know about. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the mental battles. Every game he sat on the bench, watching others live his dream, was a reminder that he was not good enough yet. Every time a coach walked past without calling his name, the voice of doubt in his mind grew louder. "Maybe you're not cut out for this." Family gatherings became bittersweet. While relatives praised his perseverance, deep down, he wondered if he was letting them down. He had sacrificed time with friends, missed family milestones, and put every ounce of himself into a dream that still felt out of reach. Even his closest friends started questioning his future. "Maybe it's time to think about life after football," they said gently, trying to mask their concern. But no matter how loud the doubts became, his passion burned louder. Late nights turned into early mornings at the gym. When no one was watching, he ran extra drills, studied game footage, and worked tirelessly on perfecting every detail of his game. His hands were raw from catching passes until the skin blistered. His muscles screamed for rest, but his heart refused to quit. And then came the moment that changed everything: a chance injury to the starting wide receiver. Suddenly, the opportunity he had waited for his entire life was staring him in the face. The coach pulled him aside after practice. "You're starting next game. You ready for this?" He did not hesitate. "I've been ready my whole life." Now, as he lined up for what could be the final play of the season, all those sacrifices, the pain, the doubts, the lonely nights, came flooding back. This was his moment, one chance to prove that every sacrifice had been worth it. The stage was set. This was not just any game, it was the championship. The stakes were higher than they had ever been, and millions of fans were watching, waiting for greatness to unfold. For the rookie, this was the kind of pressure that could either forge a legend or break a man. The game had been brutal from the first whistle. The opposing defense was relentless, punishing every attempt at forward progress. Every yard gained was a battle, every point hard-earned. His team was trailing by 4 points, and time was running out. The fourth quarter was a war of inches. Every snap mattered, and every play carried the weight of the entire season. Coaches shouted orders, players gasped for breath, and the crowd's energy surged with every possession change. But through all the chaos, the rookie stayed focused. His mind replayed every sacrifice, every moment of self-doubt, and every long night spent preparing for a chance like this. And then, the final drive began. The team had less than 2 minutes to pull off the impossible. The quarterback called a series of quick passes to move the ball up the field, and with every completion, hope began to rise from the ashes of defeat. First down, 10 yards gained. Second down, 8 yards on a slant route. Third down, a rush for a crucial first down. The clock ticked mercilessly, seconds melting away with every play. The team was now within striking distance of the end zone, but with just 10 seconds left on the clock, it all came down to one final call. The coach glanced at the rookie. No words were spoken, only a nod. The message was clear. This is your moment. The huddle broke, and the stadium roared like thunder as the players lined up. The defense was ready, stacking their coverage against him. They knew where the ball was going. The quarterback snapped the ball. Time slowed. Every step, every breath became deliberate, as if the universe was giving him one final chance to prove himself. He sprinted toward the corner of the end zone. The defender stayed glued to his side, matching every move. This was it. One play, one chance. The ball was in the air. For a split second, the entire stadium went silent. Tens of thousands of fans, millions watching from home, and two teams locked in battle. All held their breath as the football spiraled through the air toward its target. The rookie locked his eyes on the ball, every instinct firing at once. He had visualized this exact moment 1,000 times in practice, but nothing could prepare him for the weight of now. The defender was right there with him, matching his speed step for step. One wrong move, one hesitation, and this moment would be lost forever. The end zone was just a few yards away. As the ball descended, time slowed to a crawl. He leaped, not because it was part of the plan, but because his instincts told him to trust himself. His fingertips grazed the ball first, but it wasn't enough. The defender's arm came across, trying to swat it away. In that split second, everything could have ended. But instead, something incredible happened. He adjusted midair, twisted his body just enough to regain control, and pulled the ball toward his chest. The defender's hand brushed past his helmet, a fraction too late. He landed hard in the end zone, the weight of both the ball and his own determination knocking the wind out of him. For a heartbeat, there was only silence, and then the referee raised both arms. Touchdown. The stadium erupted into chaos. Fans screamed. His teammates rushed toward him, lifting him off the ground as if they already knew what this moment meant. The scoreboard changed. They had won the championship. But this was more than just a victory. This was history being written in real time. That catch, that single impossible play, became the defining moment of the game and his career. Commentators called it the greatest play ever made by a rookie. Analysts debated where it ranked among the best plays in NFL history. But for him, none of that mattered. All that mattered was that he had proven to himself and to the world that with one play, one chance, everything could change forever. The celebration was deafening. Confetti rained down from the rafters, and fans chanted his name in unison. His teammates hoisted him onto their shoulders, parading him around the field like a hero. Commentators were already calling the catch the greatest in NFL history. But for him, standing in that end zone, the noise faded into the background. This was more than just a championship win. It was validation, proof that every sacrifice, every lonely night, and every moment of self-doubt had been worth it. The catch wasn't just a highlight. It was a culmination of relentless hard work and unbreakable faith in himself. After the game, as cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions, he stayed quiet for a moment longer. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady and calm. "They said I wasn't good enough, that I wouldn't make it here, but every failure brought me closer to this moment. All I needed was one chance, and I took it." The interview clip went viral overnight. Sports analysts dissected every frame of the catch, calling it a moment that would live forever in NFL history. His jersey sales skyrocketed. Kids across the country began mimicking his move in their backyards, dreaming of making their own game-winning play someday. But his greatest accomplishment was not in the record books. It was in how his story inspired others. Young athletes who had been overlooked found new motivation. Coaches used his journey as an example of why giving up is never an option. For many, his story became a reminder that one moment can redefine everything. Months later, at an awards ceremony, he accepted the Play of the Year trophy. In his speech, he said, "This isn't about the catch. It's about believing in yourself when no one else does." And with those words, his legacy was cemented, not just as a champion, but as a symbol of determination and perseverance. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs to believe in their own one chance. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible NFL moments that changed history forever.